All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. Welcome to my live stream on getting ready for Thanksgiving. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're already getting ready and excited. Grab some extra coffee here. So I'm Dr. Zimmermann, if we haven't met. Real nice to have you here. I'm an internal medicine physician. I was, a primary care doctor for many years, and dialing in over that time for helping people lose weight, control their blood sugar with fasting, and spending my time now working on a simple fasting channel. If you're just coming in, check out some of our videos. I'm trying to make thoughtful videos, help people understand my perspective on fasting, which is, hopefully, you would agree, very calm, very thoughtful. And, fasting is a very powerful practice. And you can accomplish a lot of good things in the body, improving metabolic health in many ways, amongst other things. But it can be very intense. Many places online, fasting approached in a very intense sort of way. I try to take the opposite approach it in a very thoughtful and calm perspective. So, Fasting Space Live, here we are. What is this program about? A place to connect, ask questions, have a discussion, and just open space. Fasting is open space. Grab a coffee or tea. Pass a bit of time without eating. Create a food-free space is usually how I refer to it. And this is the way. This is all it is at its simplest level. But the idea is simple, but the doing of it, see, that's the trick, right? It's one thing to know about fasting and to say, food-free space, I get it. We have stored energy in the body. Blood sugar is there, body fat is there to power the body. Don't eat, okay? Well, the energy is there to serve you. So that can make sense on an intuitive level. But can you actually do it? This is what Fasting Space is about, creating space where people can come together to practice fasting together. I'm in a fasting space. Shh, got my coffee. Trying to lead the way, I would say. A fasting space can be a very pleasant space once you train yourself to get used to it, and can be especially pleasant space if you can do it together in kind of a community setting. That's what I hope that we can build out in the time to come. I throw on some peaceful music and answer any questions that anyone has. If you're coming through on the replay, throw any questions in the comments, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you throughout the day or in the future. I spent the week this week working on, learning about this live setup. The balance I've come to see, if you watch some of my other live streams, I always thought that the audio and the video the quality wasn't so good. So see if you agree, is it on your device? The audio quality, hopefully better, video quality better. There's always a trade-off with things in life, right? Is that there's latency. So it's like 20 seconds if people throw in a comment before it can actually pop up. So I was thinking about that just as a metaphor for what I'm trying to do. I was like, as I read about people doing live streams, they say, well, you could lower the quality, video quality very poor, audio quality much poorer, but then you can interact like in real time. It'd be very fast, no latency. Or you ramp up the quality, but then it's slower and a bit of a delay. So I was thinking about that. I don't know, maybe there's a middle ground somewhere. All this is kind of trial and error to me. Let me know if you would have a thought about it between being able to interact quickly versus having a little higher quality. I'm trying out the higher quality just to see how that goes. Because I was thinking, well, can we have patience? Like, does everything... This is our society, right? Everything on demand, everything instant, fast, fast, fast. A lot of quantity over quality. As I'm trying to head us toward thinking about a holiday and Thanksgiving and food. A lot of quantity over quality. Definitely a goal that I have for this sort of space. Quality over quantity. I would definitely go in that direction. Fasting, in my mind, a big part of it is about finding contentment. If you want to fast, I only want people to practice a fasting regimen if they can do it and feel better. Where I don't want people to struggle. I don't want people to be stressed. I want people to use a fasting practice as a mental health tool, actually. People throughout the world use fasting as a rejuvenation process to disconnect, reduce the number of things they have to do, reduce stress, open up space, let the body rest. This is a very, very positive state of mind. So always we want to be going in that direction. Certainly that is about consuming less and feeling better while doing it. That's definitely in line with this idea of higher quality, less quantity. I like that. So if we're trying to practice fasting, trying to find contentment, seems like we should be okay. Just slowing things down a little bit. Open up the space. Everything doesn't have to be instantaneous. Here, if I was really dialed in, I would have silenced my phone. There we go. Big shout out, thanks to my mom. My mom was on a medical mission trip down to Guatemala for a nursing trip. And while she was there, she picked me up this great, fresh Guatemalan coffee. So that's what I'm drinking. Really good. Do you have a beverage of choice? Do you like a coffee in the morning or tea, or you just stick with water? Whatever you like to drink in the morning, a fasting space, you just stay hydrated. Be very pleasant space. So, finding contentment in a day. Here we are, day before Thanksgiving, at least in the U.S., if you're celebrating it. It's the same basically for any holiday, although Thanksgiving all holidays, I guess, you focus on food. Thanksgiving is like a superfood holiday. I said on the live stream yesterday, I think that fasting is a practice that can enhance our experience with food. I've definitely had that. People intimidated by fasting say, oh, I just like to eat. I don't like the idea of not doing it. We get in a routine. I like that concept that came to me yesterday. People resonate with this, like absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? I've had so many people tell me, people real foodies, say, once I started giving things some space, even the food tasted better, I was listening to someone say the other day, they're like, if you think about what would you say is like the most gourmet meal, Someone was saying like lobster, if I have a lobster, it's like, oh, it's just, it's expensive delicacy. But what if you had it every day, What if you had to have lobster every day and you're sitting there by like month 8? Do you think you'd get sick of it, It wouldn't be such a big deal, right? It'd be like, oh, here we go again. Variety is the spice of life, Give things some space. Let the system just kind of reset. This is what fasting can do, kind of let the whole taste food system reset. People say, the food tastes so much better when I give it a break. This would be like a very, auxiliary bonus benefit. I like that phrase, like, have your cake and eat it too, right? Like, I want everybody who's trying to lose weight to be able to still have every enjoyable, meaningful food experience that they want, but put it in a context where you can still accomplish the health goals that you want. This is like the big ask, and this is why I think fasting practice can thread this needle in kind of a beautiful way. Fasting isn't really for the holiday, right? Fasting is for the every other boring day. You open up space, you're running off storage, you can burn through blood sugar, you can lose weight. Set yourself up so that, like, on a holiday, like, here's the big thing. We got 365 days in a year. Even if you ate badly on a holiday, that's not a way I would like to describe it, but even if you described it that way, this is probably not too big a deal if all these other days on the other side of it are balancing it all out. If you're balancing it out, maybe you enjoy that day even more and build a cycle of looking forward to food, planning for it, having a beautiful experience, not feeling stressed about it, never having guilt or feeling badly about something, and creating great memories and looking fondly upon them. This is the cycle you want, and then sticking in a rhythm that works in moving you slowly, thoughtfully toward a goal that you're accomplishing. Once in my weight clinic, I was talking with a gentleman who is a professional musician, and he was wanting to, lose weight. I worked with this gentleman over a couple years, and he said, you know what? Music becomes beautiful not with constant notes. Like, if you're just hitting notes, this same note again and again, bum, 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 it wouldn't be music. It would be boring. You would get sick of it. But you put in the space. It's the spaces, the rests that give music its rhythm and beauty. And he was describing this to me. He's like, fasting has become like the rests in like the music of my eating. And I thought that was just such a beautiful description coming from a musician, to say, like, this is the space that puts the notes in context and makes them beautiful. I couldn't agree more with that. Different types of music have different amounts of rests, last different amounts of time. That's just like us. We're all unique. We have different situations. We might each need different amounts of rests between the notes, to sing our song, to make our music. I think so much of what has happened in dietary counseling, we've been pushed into these regimens. Like there's these ideas like everybody needs the same amount of food and should eat the same, like 3 meals a day, every person, all the time. That's like saying everybody is playing the same piece of music. Everybody is singing the same song, but like we're all unique. We all have a unique perspective, unique metabolism, unique goals. And yeah, I just think this is a beautiful thought. Like, what song are we trying to sing? What exactly does that look like? Craig coming in. Hey, I hope you are doing well today. I do wonder what your experience was with the latency. How long did that take before it came up? As a musician, you need to let single notes breathe. Those gaps in the notes make each one more special. That is exactly the truth. This is what I'm trying to share with fasting. I hope that resonates with you. Resonating as a practice. This is what I feel like. I really think that there is kind of a musical vibe or underpinning to a fasting practice. You think of like if you just pluck a guitar string, for example. If you just wound it up out in a room, it wouldn't really have a rich sound. The sound is escaping in every direction. You put that string on a guitar, on a structure that is supporting it, that everything about it is designed to support it, that will capture the sound, channel it. The whole body of the instrument will resonate and amplify it. I've definitely seen different meal frequencies will resonate with different people. We all have different needs, and our body, I think, knows in a big picture, like what we will need, and it can be different at different times. This is what's so different between this mainstream thinking, 3 meals a day, every day for everyone, and if you even question it, you might get more unhealthy for even thinking a thought about it. Sometimes I get a little cynical about it. When the reality is, okay, our metabolism, the body, extremely flexible, and at different points in time, we can vary this, and then the body can resonate with it. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but it can take 2 to 3 weeks. If you try to change a dietary pattern, it can take 2 to 3 weeks until it really settles in the body. This is one of the reasons why I like routine. Okay, I'm always trying to find a balance. There's a lot of benefits in routine, a lot of space for flexibility and grace and embracing fluidity. So we try to strike a balance between those two things. But a routine can be very beneficial because so many things in the body operate on a hormone cycle, and we have a lot of, not to get too technical, but there's clock proteins, proteins that are helping our body internally know what time it is, what time do we normally do things, because the body is coordinating so many things, our digestive processes. And when we get in a routine, it can help to train the body, like, oh, these are the times when we eat. We start to get hungry at the times we're normally eating. It just helps all these things to line up, and it can make the process easier. No reason you have to do it. But if you get in a space where, okay, I was eating like all the time, but now I start structuring it. Now I'm opening up fasting space. You let the body settle into that. Maybe that space is 2 meals in 8 hours or 6. Some people tighten that up. Some people eating 1 meal a day. Some people going, alternate daily fasting. We've had some people in previous streams sharing their experience about that. You settle into that sort of groove. That's like playing a specific song, right? And then or a specific note, and then it resonates, and you can just feel it in their body. Feel it in your body. So if you haven't experienced something like that, obviously you can see all my disclaimers. I'm not giving anyone any medical advice. Talk about your situation with your medical team. Every video I've put on this channel, I have this video, top reasons to avoid fasting. The main reasons are, if you're taking medications, there's certain medications that can interact with food, and you have to be very thoughtful about that. Okay, but you can just try these things, right? With all that said, you say, people intimidated to even try something different, when really it's not too big a deal. It's actually not a big deal at all. And when you start to open your mind to it, you think, oh, there's all these times in life where we miss meals, but we don't call it fasting. Like, for example, you just got sick. It's like someone got sick, they got the flu. They didn't eat for like 3 days. They did an extended fast, days of no eating. People equate those two things. This is what's so interesting. They equate those two things. I was like, oh, I was sick. It was bad, so I couldn't eat, and it was terrible. Okay, an illness is bad, no doubt. The thing people miss is that it's not a virus, right? It's not an illness that is actually making you not able to eat. The body is shutting down the food processing, and it's using the fasting space to actually help heal you and kill the illness. That's what's so amazing about it. Fasting has a lot of healing potential in the body. The body uses it. For example, you have some bacterial infection. A lot of these things they're using blood sugar against you, right? The body will shut down our food intake, help to drop blood sugar, starve out an infection. That's part of it. Our white blood cell fighting efficacy is optimized in this sort of state. And people don't realize so much of what the immune system is doing is protecting us from foodborne illness, right? So we're eating food, immune system is extra primed, has to sterilize. Everything that's coming into the body is sterilized through the GI tract. All of a sudden you start fasting, body doesn't have to devote so much, resources to that. Those resources freed up to go fight the infection. Body says, hey, we don't need the food right now, right? Like, we have higher priorities. We don't need more energy here. We need to send, the troops over to the front lines and get us healthy again. Yes, every part of a guitar changes the sound, but the string being anchored firm is the most fundamental aspect. Fasting for me has been an anchor. Yeah, wow, thank you for that. That is beautiful. I really love that metaphor, fasting as an anchor. Trying to lose weight, trying to be healthy. What do you think? My observation is just not a healthy society that we're living in. And, there's certain things that are good. someone, if I was having a debate with someone, I can picture them saying like, okay, what time would you rather live in? Like, would you rather be alive any other time? I mean, this is a pretty incredible time to be alive. I mean, we're sitting here like live streaming in 4K across the world. Like, it's pretty amazing, you know. I take a lot of things for granted, but despite all its benefits, okay, in this modern era, it's not exactly metabolically healthy. And yet at the same time, everybody wants to be healthy. Like, I think a lot of people recognizing, okay, this is not a healthy moment for the human species. A lot of health struggles. How do we... And so then people trying to market to that, right? And it's just so crazy that we have like hundreds of billions of dollars just in marketing, trying to market health to people in so many different directions. You know, the gym memberships and the special foods and all the supplements and the medications and the things. Like, every time you watch TV, you're getting sold some kind of supplement or medication or health something. Can fasting be an anchor to that process to say, it just, in my view, it just cuts out almost all of it, potentially. Just really cutting down right to the very core issues. That's why I love it so much. Totally free, completely accessible. It's not like if you had a diet that was like, oh, you can only eat the organic grass-fed beef, you know, it'd become a very elitist thing. You say it's like, well, only a certain type of person can afford that. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat that. I'm just saying if that was your thing, it'd be very expensive. Fasting, it's progressive, you know, from the standpoint of, I'm thinking in some, you know, financial sense, like, I'm trying to say it can potentially help people who are less well off more than someone who's very affluent. And I love that. You know, someone who's very well off, they can afford to buy whatever food they want, okay? Buy the very healthiest food. Someone who is not very well off is like, the deck is stacked against you, right? Because the cheapest food in our society is actually what hurts people the most. And I just, this is one of the things that I think is the greatest injustice in our present society, actually, is that the cheapest food is hurting people who can't afford to buy it. So fasting, a lot of people who came into my weight clinic, you know, in a very tight situation financially, the most efficient way to eat, like if you are trying to stretch your dollar the very farthest, the most efficient way to do it is to have a fasting space, and then to take whatever money that you can afford and buy the highest quality food that you can. This is operating in tune with your body, because the body thrives on a fasting space. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're overweight, okay, that food energy that you have, or that stored energy, that's food you previously ate. Your body is trying to help you and take care of you. It's saved it for later. It's like, you can think of it like a bank account, and you want to withdraw that energy. And the way the body does that is through a fasting space. It's trying to save it for when you really need it. So that's efficient to use that. So yeah, things are tight financially. How do you actually use that resource that you have? And then you need the highest quality food. And so always the money, people say, look, my food budget is so limited. What should I spend it on? Okay, core, healthy, unprocessed food. And you try to do that in the most cost-effective way. I'm going to catch up, Greg, on your comments. I switch things up, morning fast or evening fast. Flexibility is key. I totally agree. Sometimes you'll have a season where you feel more like one or the other. When I did my fasting study, I had months and months. The grant that I got connected me to an incredible researcher who helped me basically try to review all of the medical literature on fasting that we did for our background, and I read so many papers. There pretty much is a consensus in the current medical literature that fasting in the evening is more powerful, and that it is aligned better with our hormonal physiology, cortisol cycles, and stuff like this. In the medical literature, that's referred to as early time-restricted eating, meaning you're having breakfast and lunch, and then you clear things out and fast through the evening. There's many, many physiologic benefits to this. Everybody, even, you talk to some nutritionist or dietitian who you run into and they're not keen on fasting, for example. But then you'll have a conversation with them and they'll agree. They'll say, oh, well, we always counsel our patients, don't eat late, So they say no fasting, okay, but don't eat after dinner. Well, that's the start of fasting, right? If someone is having a cycle where they're eating late, they're always having a snack at 10 o'clock before bed, and you tell them don't eat late, well, you're starting to help them open up more fasting space, right? In just a couple hours. And so that's how I start a dialogue with someone, a medical provider who's like not into fasting. I'm like, but you do agree people should not eat late, right? And then I might present some of these studies on early time restricted eating, and it's like, well, I see that physiology, it makes sense. Okay, but from a practical perspective, people come in, when people would come to my weight clinic at the university, not so much now. Now I'm just here fasting. Everything I put out fasting. So people come to me. They know what they're, getting. But people come to my clinic, and I'm trying to sell them on fasting. I'm not selling anything. But I'm trying to show the benefits of it. When I explain the whole physiology to everybody, literally 95% of people will want to fast in the morning. I even explain to people, okay, it's stronger to fast in the evening, all these things. There's kind of two levels. Most people find, it really is about 95%, that it's easier to fast in the morning, at least to start. And so that's where I focus with everybody. Grab a coffee, fast in the morning. And then that's the easiest way to start. But once you get in a groove of it, okay, we talked about, okay, there's benefits of routine, but, then it's something different to try. It's like a totally different experience, at least I find, to try to fast in the evening. I did personally find it more difficult. I mean, culturally, dinner is kind of our more social meal. It's usually a bigger meal. It's kind of, it's just culturally a bigger deal. And so yeah, to change that, it can be like a bigger step. But then there's super benefits to it in all kinds of ways. And so teaching yourself how to do these things, I always tell people, just start at the easiest place. Why start at somewhere harder? Just because some paper told you that it's better or something. No. If it's easier to start in the morning, start in the morning. Just do that. And then at some point in time, maybe you're feeling that resonance, like we were saying. Oh, I'm feeling this. And maybe sometime you'll be getting a signal from the body, if you're listening to it, that, oh, maybe it would be time to try it. I was reading something the other day. It was very interesting. It was like our thoughts. Where do our thoughts come from? And it was saying a lot of our thinking might be synthesis of deep knowledge within the body, like that, and deep within the brain. That's not in our conscious level, but there's all this processing that's going on. Like when we have a gut feeling about something, that gut feeling is probably like the synthesis of all kinds of knowledge, like deep in the body and the brain that is coming up. And when you're feeling it, it's like a message based on your experience. Like this is probably the decision that's best, like a very intuitive. That's very interesting to me when we think about like trying to be in a flow. This is what I want people to get to in a fasting, in a health state. No struggling, working with the body, finding a flow state, not forcing anything, but giving open space to like let the body adapt, let the body work on the situation. So yes, flexibility is key. Maybe some fasting in the morning for a season, maybe some learning how to fast in the evening. Go back and forth. And then once you train yourself to be able to do each, what is fitting better into your life, for a season, Someone says, oh, my friend is in town, let's go out for breakfast, I've had people say, oh, but I'm on this food window where I can't do that. I'm like, no. Like, we want the food experiences that bring joy and meaning to our life. You want to go out to breakfast with your friend, go out to breakfast with your friend, don't be tied into something. The other caveat is just to say, you can go out to breakfast with your friend and have a coffee and nobody's going to care if you eat, probably. See. Yes, society is unhealthy, undernourished, but overfed. This is the crazy reality of it. Both with diet and positivity, yes. Too much negativity in your face, bad food, and a lot of short-term solutions. Undernourished but overfed. Yeah, this is something that I've really been thinking quite a lot about, because if you saw my little challenge video that I made for this food pantry that I've been volunteering at. So this has been such an interesting thing to do. I'm sitting here in this space trying to help people lose weight, practice fasting. And then I'm over at the food pantry working with people who are like just hanging on, really struggling. Okay, but at the pantry too, there are two populations of people. There are people who are like legitimately like borderline on malnourished, underweight, right? Who are like, you say, okay, if I just had to survey, I would say, okay, these people like really need this. This is like a miracle that we're able to help these people. And then there's also a subset, of people at the pantry who are very overweight. And, I sit there, I have all these meta, thoughts of like, I just need to get out of my doctor mind while I'm here. I need to stop assessing someone's, like, what do I think this person's A1C is? Like, I don't need to think, what is their fasting glucose level? Just there to help people. Okay, but then when you look at the patterns of people who are shopping and the people who are, there's incredible food at this place. This pantry partners with local organic farms. They have organic produce. They have high quality meat and eggs and fruits and vegetables and just all this great stuff. They also have, just like a regular store, they have aisles with bread and chips and cookies and pies that get, donated from some bakery that expired. And I mean, it's just, the reality is the observation. The people who are overweight, even coming into the pantry, are the people who are loading up the cart with the cookies and the pies. And I'm like, is this helping this person? This is what I was thinking. Like, this person is undernourished and overfed at a food pantry. And like what is the is there a moral obligation to, like, how do you really help this person? Like, when I'm sitting there, I'm like, this food is not helping this person. And what would really be the loving and caring thing to do if you think about how do we help someone in this really terrible situation to become more healthy? Like, how could we teach them? Like I'm sure most of these people are developing type 2 diabetes. They are going to have kidney damage. They'll end up on dialysis, and it's going to be a bad end. And I'm like, I just want to help these people. But, there's no place that I can't, like, be like, hey, did you know? Most of these people I help shop, I just do my job there. And they're like, give me 5 packs of those cookies. And I just feel bad putting them into the cart. But I feel good. I mean, I want to be there. I want to help. It's tough. So we're in a tough situation with this society, I would say. Too much dieting, not enough lifestyle change is what I see hurting the most. Being healthy for me required a change of heart and mind first before reaching for portions and fads. Yeah. 100%. This is where I'm really trying to go on the channel. It's where I've it's kind of shaken out for me with it. Yeah, so what was that other thread? Can fasting be an anchor? That's where it was going. All these different things going on, all this societal sort of stuff, all these complex things. Can fasting be something that can be an anchor for you? In some fashion. So here we are, day before Thanksgiving, day before a food holiday. Here we're passing the time in this sort of live fashion. This is what you do. So you can do it a few different ways, right? Most of the time, you just got to go to work, right? So if you're going to work and you can stay busy, is like a distraction. You're just passing that time in a food-free space. What's happening physiologically, like all of us right now, what's happening for me right now, I'm drinking the coffee, it's just black coffee. No energy is coming into the body through that. Energy is within the body. Body is carrying on, burning down the blood sugar. Once our blood sugar is normalized, okay, what happens in the body? Body says, okay, what's next? We've got body fat just for this occasion, then we start running off of it. So the more you dial in on that fasting window, the more space you're opening up to let the body run that process. That's what people have missed with all the dieting. Dieting, what it's come to mean in our society is like, what exactly foods are you eating? How often are you eating? But no fasting, right? Most dieting does not consider fasting. Most dieting devolves into, well, if you just eat this way, like you'd eat a Mediterranean diet, you eat a vegan or vegetarian diet, you eat a carnivore or a paleo or a keto, right? But no fasting. Keto community is like the most receptive to fasting in my experience. But dieting becomes that. And this is what presents the problem for the body. Can you see this physiology? That body fat is there to power the body in the absence of food. But dieting is always about eating. So every diet is just telling you all the time, eat this, eat this, eat this. But never telling you to fast. And so now the body, and then it's always telling you eat less, but never nothing. And so this is what is creating this paradox in the body. This is what creates the tension and the struggle. Eat less but never nothing puts the body in a very difficult place. And then we experience that. That's the experience of dieting, right? To feel it is you get put in this tension, whereas like never eating as much as you want, but always eating something. And I know my experience when I've tried to eat a little bit is like, okay, you eat a little bit and it's like, where's the rest? Like, people don't realize when you eat something, you're bringing this food into your body. You are literally like flipping switches in the body hormonally that is telling the body it's time to eat now. You're firing up the digestive system. There isn't really like, you say, oh, it was just 50 calories. Well, the body doesn't know that more isn't coming. It takes 20, 30 minutes to fire this system up. And so this is many people's experience when they start working with fasting. People initially intimidate it because they say, I'm gonna be practicing fasting, then I'll be hungry because I'm not eating. Okay, true in the short term, but the irony is that as you practice fasting, you're not flipping those switches all the time. You actually suppress hunger in the longer term. This is why a fasting practice can become much more sustainable in the long term, because we're starting to minimize the flipping on of these hunger systems. A fasting state can become a very peaceful, calm. This is how we get to fasting as a mental health practice, as a rest, and a practice toward contentment. And this is why it's totally different than a standard diet, right? That's not putting the body in that box of like always this tension. Like, what state am I in? Are we in the fasting state where we can just shut everything down? Or are we in the eating state where we have to be running these digestive systems, and then we eat a little bits and then the body's stuck because you eat little bits and the body's like, well, what do we do? Like, this is not enough food to run the system, but because we had to turn the digestive system on, hormones had to do that. Those hormones, insulin amongst others, are blocking access to the body fat. The body metabolically gets put in a rock and a hard place, right? And this is what creates this terrible metabolic cycle, because if the body is not getting enough energy to run the system and it's hormonally blocked from accessing body fat, the body responds by dialing down our metabolism. And this is how people get stuck in this terrible metabolic state where they're not really eating very much, but because the metabolism has slowed down so much, now they're not losing any weight either. And then they're feeling sluggish and low energy and tired, which makes it hard to exercise, and it's just this spiral. So many people experiencing this. This is why fasting can be a reset, because, people will come in to consult and they'll say like, oh, my metabolism is so slow. I'm not eating very much at all. I can't lose weight. I mean, this is so frustrating. People stuck in it for so long, and they don't realize that fasting is the way out of it. So body is just trying to hang on. Body's priorities all about survival, right? Everything in the body geared to try to help the human system stay alive as long as possible. And one of those protocols is about like, save the energy for when you really need it. If you got a couple hundred calories, energy keep coming in, not enough to run the system, but it is enough to keep you alive, right? So I just think, okay, these situations can be so frustrating, but when you really get into the physiology of it, to see what's happening in the body, you can see the beauty of it and the genius of it. We don't have any buttons to push. We can't hack in and control the metabolism. Like, we can't get to the source code, but that source code is written such that we stay alive the longest under the most circumstances. And so once we start to understand that, and we can use that knowledge to help us construct an eating pattern that is working with the body. So realize, okay, little bits of food coming in, body's trying to keep us alive as long as possible. Body fat is like the ultimate reserve, going to keep us alive in the worst scenarios. little bits of food coming in, not enough to power the body normally, but the body's like, okay, if we dial down the metabolism, we'll string things along on this limited food supply as long as possible, then we can preserve the body fat for when we absolutely need it. Okay, when you don't realize that, then you get stuck in this ultra frustrating place that is like, it feels terrible. It's like, I'm trying to do all these things. I'm putting in this hard work. I'm dialing the food way down. Nothing's working. I can't lose weight. But when you realize, oh, the body is trying to protect us, is trying to give us resources. We have this resource of the body fat. We just need to trust the body. We need to open up that space. This thing, we're not in a disaster scenario. Like, you can imagine the disaster scenario. The plane crashed, you're stranded in the jungle, there's no food. Like, okay, now the body fat gonna get you through, right? Fasting is voluntarily, thoughtfully, gently opening up that space in a controlled manner to allow the body to use that energy. By doing that, you reset this negative cycle that I've been describing. Body says, oh, now there's no food coming in. This is what people have missed in the clinical studies, okay? Because in the clinical studies, the more severely you calorie restrict the diet, people observe this effect. The metabolism slows down. And so people have extrapolated that line down to zero. This is why you'll run into so many nutritionists and dietitian people who counsel against fasting, because they have looked at the studies of significant calorie restriction and they see, okay, the more you calorie restrict, the more you observe this metabolic slowing effect. But the studies do not have anyone fasting. They are studying standard dieting where people are eating all the time little bits, okay? And that doesn't work. And what people haven't realized is that graph inverts at zero. It inflects back up. And when you actually hit the fasting space, it flips. And that's the metabolic reset. And that is what our society so desperately needs to start understanding. Embrace the fasting space. Let it reset the metabolism. Then you'll feel that resonating. I've seen so many people come in, they're stuck in that tough metabolic space. They open up the fasting space 2 to 3 weeks to let the body adjust. And they say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling better. This is what I want for people. I am feeling so much better. Like, my energy is better, even before people lose weight, right? You feel the metabolic effect. That can just happen within a couple weeks. The metabolism kicking back up, people's energy back up, people sleeping better, people feeling better. That is a benefit that's even better than weight loss, like, for many people. Okay, Greg, my latency now for getting to your comments, much more than 30 seconds. An anchor keeps the ship stable even during storms. If I go off path, I feel bloated or sick after a storm. I know fasting is there to anchor me again. Yeah. You can always come back to it, and there's seasons for everything. You get knocked off a course. Like, this is just the way life is. I'm very big. I always tell people, like, how do I say it? Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, We're human beings, therefore we are not perfect, and life is complex and difficult. And even in the in a clinical study, I always told people, like, 100% adherence to this protocol is not expected. I told people, I want you to do this protocol as much as you can. And, but I don't want it to, make your life worse. I only want it to make it better, And, we had exceptional results in our study. Read the study if you're coming through and you haven't seen it. I've got a video on the channel, Got Insulin, the little thumbnail, eliminate insulin with fasting. I got my paper linked in there. If you're interested in reading, big academic paper, you can read through it. Otherwise, just watch the video. You'll get the gist of it. But what people don't, some things that people don't know about the study, okay, we had these exceptional results. 14 out of 20 people have been on insulin about 10 years. They've been taking insulin every day. 14 out of 20 completely off insulin. The average A1C in the study was unchanged. And, people lost all this weight. What I want people to, or what I'm telling you now, okay, within that study, one of the participants on the study, there's only, one person did not complete the study. They dropped out at like week 2. Okay, that's fine. Fasting not for everybody. The fact that 19 out of 20 people did it, for 6 months, it's actually amazing to me. So 14 out of 19 is 5 people didn't get off insulin. They were on like 75% less insulin by the end. One of the people on the study, their father and brother died during the study. It was so awful. And this person came into the study with an A1C of like 7. If you're not, I'm just talking about all this medical stuff. So A1C, for people who are not familiar, is just like a measure of blood sugar control. It gives you a 3-month average of blood sugar. And 7 is kind of a standard target. If you have your A1C 7 or below, we see that's well-controlled type 2 diabetes. Person during the study, their father and brother killed. And they obviously it's just a terrible experience for them. And by the end of their study, they were totally off track. And their A1C went from like 7 to like 11, And it's so much worse. They're not doing the protocol at all by the end of it because, their life situation was so badly. And so, but that's life, right? And out of a population, you see in the study, 19 people, this happens. And the point I'm trying to make is like, even within the study, even with this one person who is like radically went off the rails with it, okay, over the population, okay, so many people was actually so much better than on average, like it was unchanged. And so it's hard to tease that detail out. But that's what I think is so fascinating. I worked with that patient then for another year after the study, and they had incredible results. Like, we got through it, they got back on track, and the end result, that person ended up getting off insulin and did so well. But, that's life, right? That's the season. Mediterranean low carb, I think it's fantastic. I super love it. I have a new appreciation for sardines after I went to Spain a couple years ago. I'd never, sardines to me, I was like, who would eat that? That's how it kind of grew up. Like, I had some stigma against that. But man, I went to Spain. I took a couple days. We went to Malaga, Spain, little beach town on the Mediterranean coast, and we just sat around and ate sardines and salads and apricots and pomegranates, and it's incredible. I sit there in Spain. I I'm eating all this great fresh food right off the Mediterranean coast, and I'd sit there on the beach, and you almost never see an overweight person in Spain. That was at least where I was. I was reflecting on that. Okay, they're eating just completely unprocessed natural food right from their local place, but also a lot more fasting just happening naturally in the culture. You know, people kind of really get going eating like in the afternoon. Like people come home from work. A lot of people there will like have a big lunch break, and they'll come and have a big lunch meal somewhere 1, 2 o'clock. And that'll be like the first time a lot of people eat, at least that I ran into. As I was trying to talk with everybody there. I was like, what is your culture like here? You know, a lot of restaurants will open. People come in. They'll have a coffee in the morning. I was like, I should move here. This is like what I'm trying to do. My second and last meal for today will be a 3 evening fast for now, improving hormonally as I step toward my goals. I notice the amount of exercise needed now. Less work for more return. Yeah. I'm very happy to hear that. That's been my experience for people with just with a fasting practice in general. You know, it's people kind of get, right, like everybody gets a gym membership. We're going to fire up on the new year. Everybody going to be hitting the gym. And what people aren't going to realize, I'm just talking about averages, okay? The unfortunate reality is like the average person who gets a gym membership does not weigh less a year later. You know, December 31st of the next year, they'll be back because people will hit it so hard for a few months, and then they'll burn out, and then they'll get back in habits, and then it'll be back December again. The bad psychology is like, okay, you'll lose some weight. This is what people say. Okay, I got a gym membership. I hit it so hard. I lost 7 pounds or whatever. Okay, but they couldn't sustain it. And then maybe they went to their physician. And this is where a lot of counseling can get less than helpful. Is like, okay, someone came in February to their doctor. They'd really been hitting the gym. What people often aren't appreciating, they're getting stronger. They're getting more fit. Okay, but that's not what most people really want. Most people not going to the gym to get stronger. They want to lose weight. The trickiest thing is someone went to the gym, they got more fit, they actually bulked up a bit, they actually weigh more. They didn't burn the body fat. That's the most frustrating spot. Whereas like, they're not realizing they're probably healthier overall. It's good for the heart, good for so many things. Hard to lose weight purely by exercising for most people without getting a dietary practice in the right spot. It's not nobody. Some people can do it. Good for them. I would never criticize anyone for doing it. Exercise, in my view, much better for helping to keep from gaining weight in the first place. That is a physiologic system. Diet is like got to be 90% of a weight loss practice, in my perspective. Once you get a dietary practice in a place that's resonating with your body, though, then the exercise can supercharge it. And that's the way I really try to help people do it. Dial in a fasting sort of practice, a healthy eating practice in a way that's working. Then you know, okay, if you're losing weight through that, then you know that the hormones are aligning in the body and is allowing access to the body fat. If you're in one of these metabolically compromised situations where the body can't really cleanly access the body fat, then the exercise perversely can actually make things worse. Because if you're stuck in this negative cycle, I have a study that shows this effect linked on simplefasting.com. You go simplefasting.com, articles, and then there's medical provider resource. I've got some articles in there that I discuss. Okay, exercise can further worsen that cycle, more negative adaptation, because you're putting this load for the energy, but the body hormonally is blocked. Then the body might further try to slow the metabolism. That is a bad cycle. More and more metabolic slowing. Get the fasting, get the healthy eating, the low carb, unprocessed food. Get all that stuff in place first. Feel that resonance. Feel the energy increasing. Then you know the metabolism is going up. Then add the exercise. Then when you're exercising, you'd be drawing the energy from the reserves without potentiating the slowing. That's how you get more bang for your buck. Absolutely. I put on here to have some thoughts about food choices. All right, Thanksgiving, a big food-focused day. So maybe this will have to be my last thought because I have a meeting that I have to get to. Food choices, okay? Like fasting, we've talked about. Have some fasting space on the days on either side of the holiday to balance out maybe a bigger eating day, identifying the key foods, saying whatever brings joy and meaning to this day, okay, that can be fine. You don't have to intentionally overeat on a holiday. That might not be the most optimal choice. So figure out what is that balance. And then we discussed, okay, fasting within a day, you can say forget about it, but you could also say I'm going to just keep the eating window going that is serving me well, and I'm going to have that window with that beautiful food that it is that you want. Okay, that can be really nice. And then within it, okay, think about what are the optimal choices? And then you think about carbohydrates. Now, many foods that people like the most, Thanksgiving foods, so many carbs, right? People want a pumpkin pie, people want a lot of potatoes, people want this. And so here's the thought about potato specifically that I was having. Like, I think about like stereotypically like Ireland, like all this stuff, like civilizations like lived on potatoes, right? And they weren't struggling with weight. You think about, rice and corn and like these staple products, people not struggling with weight. Yet here we are in this society, in this moment, and yeah, you get a lot of extra carbs. This, if you're struggling with blood sugar, it's going to make it worse. If you're trying to lose weight, okay, limiting carbs. I would always tell people to limit the processed carbs before unprocessed carbs. So things like a lot of bread and pasta, I always, and pastries and all that sort of stuff, knock that stuff out before knocking out the potato, because, potato is pretty unprocessed, thing. But if you're trying to dial in on specific choices, okay, having a healthy protein source, if that's your classic, your turkey or whatever you do, okay, eating more of that than more potatoes going to help you a lot. I always tell people, pick your favorite dessert, like having 3 desserts. If it's your one day a year and that is, say, that's going to bring joy to my life. I know I never tell anyone you can't do it, okay? But if you have the mental space, if you feel like, no, I can, it feels good to me, set the limits, enjoy it. If you'd normally say, oh, I'd have 3 pieces of pie, I say, can you have 1 piece and just enjoy it 3 times more? And if you can do that and enjoy yourself and not have any regrets about it, then of course I would say do it. So those would be some of my thoughts about food choices over Thanksgiving. Really appreciate this discussion. Thanks, Greg, for being here. Really appreciated this dialogue. That was very thoughtful thoughts. I appreciated spending this time here with you. Anybody else coming through on a replay, throw some thoughts and questions into the comments. Look forward to chatting with you about that. I hope you have a beautiful, healthy, thoughtful day here. I hope you're looking forward to a holiday tomorrow if that's something that you're celebrating. And I'm going to be on the road, but I'll be back Sunday morning. I'm going to hit a live stream Sunday morning. And yeah, safe travels to anybody who is traveling. And I will look forward to seeing you back here soon. All right. Be well, everybody.